After 40 years in childcare, I've experienced it all. The laughter, the challenges, and the burnout. I'm Debra Rinell, and I'm here to share the realities of childcare leadership with you. Starting as an unexpected entrepreneur facing the pressures of leadership, I've been through the same struggles that you are likely navigating today. More importantly, I discovered strategies to not just survive, but truly thrive in this rewarding field, and I'm ready to share it all with you. Ready to elevate your center and reignite your passion for childcare? Let's get started. Hello, today I want to talk to you about something that is prevalent probably in more of our programs than we'd like to admit, and ways that we can guard against it and what our next steps might be if we're dealing with it now and we need to address it. And I am talking about cliques within your administrative team. Now, cliques form in workplaces, and a lot of times they're just harmless. They are based on the familiarity of the workplace, people who get to know one another, and they, end up, their families become friends, they end up forming bonds, friendships, and oftentimes this can be good for the program, right? But when we're talking about your administrative team, the people who hold authority over the rest of the team, it is really important to know whether you have a dream team in place or whether you're dealing with a clique. And your thoughts might be, why do I care as long as they're getting everything done? Well, you should care because it's going to affect the culture of your program overall. And it can even end up affecting you and your ability to share your vision, to grow your program, and to do all of the things that you are envisioning for your families, for your team members, all of your team members. And when it comes to dealing with a clique in an authoritative position, it can be very difficult to extract your program from their grasps. So there are 4 things that I identified in an article that I wrote for Forbes Council, which you can still find on my LinkedIn page. And the first one is job sharing. This is one of the first red flags that I wish I had known about when I was forming my team managed program. Job sharing in and of itself, the supporting of one another, of helping each other carry the load. Somebody's had a bad day, or maybe they're not feeling their best. So you kind of help pick up some of the slack for them. That is very different. That is a dream team. That's very different, though, than what a clique is going to do. A clique is sharing the load not only to support one another, because they're doing it for each other. They're doing it for each other. They are sharing that load to support the clique. And what it does is it also eliminates your ability to have specific job roles, specific KPIs, and specific performance outcome reviews. And that's part of the intention. In other words, we just all share the load. How are you going to, we get things done. We get everything done. This is a lot of what you're going to hear when you're dealing with a clique, is they do not want any one of them to have to be held accountable for a specific role. I actually had an administrative team member say to me one time, "It's like you're trying to tell us to stay in our lanes." And had I not been caught off guard by this statement, what I really should have said to her was, "I am." And that doesn't mean that you can't support the other people in their roles. It doesn't mean that by making sure you're executing on your specific job roles, duties, processes, it doesn't mean that you can't assist somebody else in theirs. But when you're dealing with a clique, they will do everything that they can to kind of get you to give up the idea that any one of them should be accountable for a specific role or function to your program. They will use phrases that, we all just support each other. We help each other wherever needed. I don't think any one of us feels like we own this or we own that. And that's not okay, because you are not forming a team managed program because you just want to hear one collective voice. One of the advantages of a team managed program is that you are gaining different perspectives, different thoughts, different feedback about some of your ideas and so forth. You are not looking, if you just want one collective voice, then find one person. That's not a team managed program. And I'm not talking about them agreeing with one another. I'm talking about why they're agreeing with one another. As with any small group situation, there is generally a ringleader. And a lot of times that agreement or one voice may or may not have anything to do with what anyone else is thinking. To be honest with you, when I've seen a well-cemented clique, I know for a fact that there were certain members of the clique that I don't think thought at all. I think they just waited for those who had the voice in the clique to tell them and everyone else what they thought. So this is why it matters as to whether or not you have a dream team or a clique. Just bringing a handful of people together and giving them a title doesn't mean that you have a team managed program. And if that team is behaving like a clique, then you are going to have problems with your entire program. There's going to be a ripple effect throughout the rest of your team. You are going to see higher turnover. You are going to see customers who are frustrated because they're never sure who they're supposed to go to. These are just a couple of the things that are problematic when your administrative team is a clique. One of the other red flags of a clique is what I came to call the family and friends plan, or friends and family plan. And that is not to suggest in any way at all that I have a problem with people hiring family members or friends. A lot of times in a lot of industries, friends are people that we've met through other jobs or roles, and we know them to be capable. We know the company we work for is looking for someone, and so we encourage them to apply, list us as a reference. I've had family members work for me. I've had friends work for me. That in and of itself is no problem. The problem when it comes to your clique, and remembering now, this is your administrative team with authority over others. So if they are bringing in a lot of their friends and family, these people become what I call fringe members of the clique. So they're really not in the clique. Their role may be that of working in classrooms or in other capacities, but they still enjoy that fringe membership because of who they're friends with or who they're related to that holds a higher position in the organization and in the clique. And the way to know whether or not you're dealing with a clique that is utilizing the friends and family plan is to watch the equitability between the friends and family members they bring on board and the rest of your team. A lot of times it's absolutely blatant. That we had one situation where I could not understand. I was continuing to hear about the bad acts of a particular employee. And my recommendation continued to be that this individual was not a good fit for our program and that they needed to let this individual go. And this went on for months. And suddenly a little light bulb went on, and I started backtracking how this individual came to work for us. Sure enough, best friends with not somebody on the administrative team, but someone related to somebody on our administrative team. And so this just goes to show you the ripple effect that can exist when the person who had the authority to release the employee was a member of the administrative team and friends with another administrative member who relative worked for us. I mean, this is how far down the line it went, right? These two people are friends. One of them is related to somebody else. That somebody else is best friends with an employee who's acting out. So the one with the authority to release that employee didn't do it. And it eventually did happen. It all came to a head. But my purpose in sharing this story is for you to understand how far reaching and toxic this kind of mentality can become to your program. And don't think for 1 minute that the other people working for us, people who didn't enjoy fringe benefits in this clique, didn't see what was going on. They probably knew before I did why that employee was still there. So the friends and family plan is another reason that you want to be very careful that your administrative team is not a clique. The third issue that I have dealt with in cliques within administrative teams is the fixed mindset, or what I call, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And it's unusual to me. A dream team, an actual team who is aligned with your core values, aligned with your company's mission, they are going to be right there with you, brainstorming and thinking of ways that you can improve the program, things that you can do to differentiate your program from others, how you can better serve your families, better serve the rest of the team, better serve the children. A clique is first going to be concerned with how those changes are going to affect them and their clique. And you're going to find resistance for any ideas, no matter how strong you can argue about their value to the program. You are going to find resistance if it does not serve the clique in some way. And this kind of brings us to the fourth red flag, which is hidden agendas. When you're dealing with a clique administrative team, their agenda, first and foremost, is protecting the clique, protecting the members of the clique, because they see safety in numbers, basically. This is where their authority comes from, not any one of them on their own, but as a collective voice, as one person. And so, of course, their role is to protect the clique. And when they come to you with ideas or they make suggestions about how to tweak an idea that you had or something, and they're coming to you collectively, be concerned, be cautious. Because again, this goes back to what I said in the beginning. You're not looking for one collective voice. You're looking for many perspectives and different ideas. This is a growth mindset. This is how your program grows. Concerned with how your program is going to grow. The clique is concerned with maintaining their authority. And honestly, it's not that far from groupthink. Groupthink, for those of you who haven't heard that term before, is a situation where belonging to the group outweighs rational thought and behavior. They will go along with the group because they belong to the group, because they want to belong to the group. So they will go along. So think back to the person in authority who was openly complaining to me about another employee and yet not acting on the very clear authority I had given this individual to let the bad actor go. And the hesitancy on this employee's part had to do with protecting not just the clique, but their position within the clique. They did not want to upset anybody else in the clique. These things are almost always 2020 hindsight. You look back and you think about certain things and you go, oh, I see what was going on. So I'm talking to you today because when you are forming your administrative team, it's important that you begin with specific job descriptions, roles, objective of that role, and the KPIs by which you are going to measure the performance of that role, long before you select anyone to fill the role. Because by having these in place, then when you do invite people to apply for these roles, and we'll talk about that in another podcast, but you absolutely want to invite them to apply. You do not simply handpick and drop them in the role, because the interview process can reveal things to you that will let you know that someone you thought was a great fit for a particular role may not be exactly what you're looking for. But again, we'll deep dive into that in another podcast. Today, I want you to focus on, if you haven't yet formed your team managed administration, then I want you to start with job descriptions, specific job descriptions. What are these roles going to look like? What are the expectations of these roles? And how are you going to measure the performance of those roles? And when you start out with this, as you bring people on, you can make it clear what the lines are. So you're going to eliminate the whole job sharing. Supporting one another is great, but your consistency in holding each of them accountable to the role that they agreed to is what is going to help prevent that groupthink mentality. When your administrative team has ideas for changes or things like this, and you suspect that it's a clique, you need to be very, very careful about engaging until you've had a chance to digest what suggestions and ideas they're coming to you with. Now, this is assuming that you're already thinking that you have a clique, and we're going to have to talk a little bit about what you do about that situation. If you don't have a clique yet, or you haven't formed your team management, again, I want to make sure that as a part of your consistent effort, that when you are being brought ideas and feedback, that you of course consider it. That's part of the purpose of a team managed program. You absolutely want to consider it, but you want to give yourself time to digest everything that has been shared with you. Think it over, think about your core values, remind yourself of your mission, and ask yourself, how well do these ideas align with your mission? Don't just have these meetings off the cuff. On the face of it, a lot of times, especially when it's being presented in a certain light, it's going to sound like a great idea. But a lot of times, especially if you're dealing with a clique, there's a hidden agenda in there. The agenda is to better cement the clique, to help promote somebody within the clique, to help promote somebody who has fringe membership in the clique. It may not be everything that it's being presented to you to be. So that's why it's really important that you get in the habit of, when they come to you with ideas, of saying, that's something to think about. I'll get back to you. And then take the time to make your decision. And when you get back to them, be clear and concise. And one thing to understand, when you get back to them, make sure that they understand you're not getting back to them to reopen discussion. You're getting back to them to render your decision. And when you let them know the decision that you've made, then you can talk about what next steps look like and how to proceed from there. And you do that very directly, very concisely, professionally, but no wiggle room. You need to be decisive. If you're dealing with a clique, you are going to feel a pull away from being decisive. You are going to be constantly re-engaged in conversation. And you're going to have to, in your own style, find a way of letting them know the conversation is over. And I've made my decision, and we just need to move forward on to the next thing. If you have a dream team, then you have a team managed program of people who are aligned to your core values, who are aligned to your mission, who are interested in the support and promotion of virtually everyone involved in your program. The playing field is level for everyone in your program. Employees are not worried about favoritism. If you have a clique, not only will members who are not a part of the clique be resentful, you may see turnover increase, job performance will certainly not be what it could be. But one of the biggest things that I discovered and had to kind of be reminded of is that you're not a member of the clique. You may think, because you're the owner or the director and maybe you handpicked these people, you've known them for some time, any number of things, you're the person in charge, right? How can you not be a part of it? Well, let me tell you, if it's a clique, you're not a part of it. If it's a dream team, you are a part of it. You're very much a part of that team. But if you're dealing with a clique, even you can find yourself on the outside looking in, trying to get a grasp on your own program. And that is not a good place to be. If you're dealing with a clique, if you suspect that you are dealing with a clique, there's a number of things that you can do. I certainly know I tried a lot of things. You can attempt to talk to them as a group. You can attempt to talk to them individually. And depending upon how long you feel like this clique has formed, you may or may not have some success. But I think it's important for you to recognize going in that if the clique has already formed, you kind of have a huge battle ahead of you. And I don't mean an all-out drama war or anything like that. It doesn't have to come to that. I'm just suggesting that you want to nip this in the bud before it goes on any longer, because the longer that it continues, the harder it's going to be for you to get your program back in alignment with your core values and with your mission. And you're going to find yourself, as I did, starting from scratch. And that can be a difficult road, but I am here to tell you today that a lot of good, beautiful things can come from that. So I know how difficult it is, especially if the people on your administrative team are people you've known a long time or you've worked with a long time. Maybe you have a relationship outside of work with. I get it. I do. Believe me, I have a great memory, or a not so great memory, I should say, of a meeting, my final meeting, honestly, in this situation. This was several years ago. And I'm not ashamed to tell you that I wound up in tears because I honestly knew that what I was dealing with was not something I was going to be able to correct. It had been set. And I am quite certain that those relationships continued on well beyond their involvement in our program. And that's fine. This isn't to say that any of these people were bad people. In fact, my tears were probably the result of the fact that I knew they weren't. But this group think had formed, and I was not going to permeate it. My only opportunity to retain control of my program was kind of a do-over and having to start with new people. And the first couple of people, it didn't work out. I thought I knew what I was looking for. Today, just by continuing to press forward, but also by continuing to remain aligned to my values, to stay mindful of my mission, of our goals, I have finally, slowly but surely, developed what I can now honestly call a dream team. And I hope the same for all of you, because when you're experiencing a dream team in your program, a team managed program where everyone is allowed to flourish and thrive and grow, that just trickles down, to it go, or I should say trickles out to the children, to their parents, to your whole community. So before you're ready to dismiss, well, yeah, I think my team might be a clique, but you know what? They've been around forever and they get things done. I would ask you to just take a look at some of these things we've talked about tonight. Job sharing, friends and family plan, favoritism, fixed mindset versus a growth mindset, hidden agendas. These do not serve your program. And if they're not serving your program, then they're not serving the families of your program. This is Debra Rinell, wishing you the very best as you develop your team managed programs, inviting you to continue to tune in and care and connect. You guys are doing wonderful things out there. Please keep on charging forward. You are fighting the good fight. We need good daycare providers. Thank you. Good night. Thank you for joining me on this journey through this rewarding world of childcare leadership. Remember that we're all navigating this together. Whether you're feeling challenged or feeling motivated, know that when you take time to be the visionary of your program, you can elevate your center and ignite your passion. Until next time, I'm Debra Rinell, reminding you to take care of yourself with the same dedication you give to others.